Welcome to the Alsco Uniforms It Pays to Keep Clean podcast, where we discuss industry best practices, celebrate big wins, and share stories about Alsco's growth journey. Frank Gibbs, thanks for joining us today on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you, Dana.
So you are general manager in Stratford, which is a new branch to Alsco within, we really just passed the year anniversary. So that's all really exciting. We're here this week at the Managers Meeting 2025, your first Managers Meeting with Alsco. How's your time been at the meeting this week?
It's been fantastic. It's been absolutely amazing. A lot of takeaways. I took a ton of notes, and I was able to network and connect with a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that alone probably, right? Just the opportunity to meet either people maybe that you've seen on emails or heard stories about. Now you're putting, names with faces and all of that. Yeah. How has the reception of you been? Are they being nice to you? You can tell me if they're not.
Absolutely. No, It's been great. Some people
good.
will walk up to you, and just start talking.
Yeah.
Some people will look at your ID badge,
right.
and then they may or may not start talking. But overall, everybody's been. It's been a good experience.
Well, that's great. So we'll talk a little bit about the time that you've been with Alsco shortly, but I want to harken back to an earlier time in Frank's life. So tell us what you were doing kind of prior to Alsco. I do know that you have some industry experience, but it's also a little bit further back there. So talk a little bit about your career trajectory, if you will.
I don't know how far back you want to go, but my first job out of college was UPS.
Okay.
And I was born and raised in New York City. And so when the Twin Towers fell, I left New York City and packed up and went to Florida.
Yeah.
Like literally September they fell, December.
You were gone. Cashed
out the 401k, sold the condo and moved to Florida. Yeah. And that's how I came into Cintas. And so...
So that once you moved down to Florida, that was kind of your first job there was with Cintas?
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
All right.
And I went through a recruiter, didn't really know anything about Cintas per se, but I met the HR manager and she said, with my personality, I could make a lot of money there. And I said, let's do it. So.
It was that winning smile, I imagine. Yeah. So you were in Tampa, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. And then how long were you with Cintas before you moved on to something else?
So I was with Cintas for 8 years.
Okay.
And it was I lived in Tampa. It was really the St. Petersburg area.
Okay.
And then my territory was over the bridge in Sarasota. Mm-hmm. So I was with Cintas for 8 years.
Okay. And then what happened after that? Where did you go?
So I left the industry and went to the limousine industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that's when we found you? Were you still doing the...
No.
No. Okay.
So I have two careers in life. I spent half my life in the limo business and half my life in the dirty laundry business.
Okay.
So I worked for two of the competitors, and so I was found by Alsco after the second competitor.
Okay, okay, all right. And so you then relocated from Tampa back to, well, not back to, because it's not New York, but it's close enough. You're spitting distance now. So you're in Connecticut, and that was January. We're coming up on a year here, aren't we? Was it January?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was actually end of December, the beginning of January.
Okay.
I know who does that. Who leaves Florida and comes up to...
And in January.
Yes, it was
mind
82
you.
degrees.
Yes, okay.
When I left, and then when I got here, it was a snowstorm.
So what was interesting to you then about the opportunity?
The opportunity itself.
Yeah.
Being a part of something new and being able to create a culture.
Yeah, kind of shape it the way that you...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to grow something.
Yeah.
So, I was very excited about that opportunity.
And did you know Tim Jones before?
No, ironically, we know some of the same folks. We have like a same history. He was part of the MT program. I trained the sitting manager, the general manager of the competitor in Tampa. He was part of the MT program, and I trained him. So we have a similar path, but I did not know him directly.
Okay,
so.
But now, of course, you report to him, so you're getting to know each other maybe all too well. I'm not sure. So how has your move to Connecticut been? Do you feel kind of settled? You've been there, 9 months or so now, 8 or 9 months. Do you feel fairly settled or still kind of finding your way?
I mean, it depends on in what aspect you're referring to. Like, I don't think I ever want to get settled and comfortable and complacent. And so there's a lot of opportunities in Connecticut area. We just tapped into the New York market, and there's a tremendous amount of opportunity in New York City. So physically, I have a place to live. So in that sense, I am settled in. But as far as the work that lies ahead, no, I'm not settled in.
You're kind of just getting started, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think when we were visiting there last, which might have been in July, I don't remember when we came out for the visit. Was that July? Do you remember?
July, I believe,
Okay,
yeah.
I think it was July too.
Yeah.
For the purposes of this, we'll pretend it was
July.
July. And I think you had just kind of started a few of those. It was the account, of course, that you had in Manhattan, and then that, since you kind of had to do that as a corporate account, you may as well look for work along the way, and it sounded like that was kind of starting to come together.
Correct.
Yeah. But one thing that we were talking about related to Stratford that is unique is that it's all new office staff. They really weren't performing all of those administration and office functions for themselves prior to our acquisition.
Correct.
So there's just a lot of newness and a lot of change. How have you been, you've been dealing with your own change, if you will, but how are you kind of approaching the team building aspect so that everybody feels supported and confident that you can move forward together?
So we'll say there's never a dull moment in Stratford.
Okay.
We'll start with that. No, it's been good. Everyone being new is good and bad. So they don't come with bad habits.
Sure.
But they have to be developed. And so we have a fantastic group of people. Our office manager / HR, Yarinette Melendez, she comes from the industry.
Right.
She was with the competitor, and she's been absolutely fantastic in helping the office, helping the transition, helping with HR. And so we have a great staff there, and that's kind of makes it easier. And we meet regularly. We're very close, and so we're fighting for the same goals, and that makes it easier.
And what about the customer side of things? It seems to me like you are probably the type of GM who likes to get out of the building when you can, meet customers, meet prospects. Have you had a lot of opportunities to do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The job is in the streets.
Yeah.
Some by choice and some by force.
Right, that's right.
And
yeah.
so, but definitely, I've had the opportunity to meet. So a lot of great people in the Connecticut area. A lot of people that have been in the community for a long time.
Sure.
And so, and that's all they want. They just want to meet and have a conversation, face to face. And so, in speaking to them, they all acknowledge that Alsco's products are far superior, and the pricing is very competitive. They just didn't know a lot about Alsco.
Yeah, and I think what's good, and not everybody has a story, but Alsco has a long story, so it's kind of nice that maybe you get to share that with a new community, and hopefully they start to respond to it and understand that some of the values that made them fans of doing business with Churchill, hopefully they'll continue to be fans while they're doing business with Alsco as well.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So what are you conducting growth meetings on a regular basis? Is that kind of started to be part of your diet at this point?
Yeah, we started the growth meetings from day one.
Day one?
Yeah,
Okay.
Day one. That's important. You always got to meet with the team, and everybody has to be, in sync. And so we have a lot of team members. We have a great sales team. We had some not transition in a negative way in the sales team, but we had John Kirkner.
Yes.
So they kind of split the territory. So
Right.
we started with Kirkner, and now we have John Carnevale. So,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the good thing is that they're both named John. So
Right.
I've been dealing with
So you
John.
just kind of keep going.
Exactly.
But the other good thing about both of them is they are they are industry professionals, right?
Yes.
Like they
Yes.
know it like the back of their hand. So
Correct.
you're in good.
Yeah. John Kirkner, again, similar path. We worked in the same companies, so we have the same mindset, the same disciplines. We have the same training, and so we kind of finished each other's sentences
Right.
sometimes. So it's very good when you have operations can work with sales, and sales can work with service, and service can work with production.
Yeah.
That's that equals success.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're getting ready to start the budgeting season, which this will be the first one that you've had the pleasure of going through. Kind of got handed a budget last year and just held on for the ride. So you'll, when you go back next week, that'll kind of be what you'll get started with. What's exciting to you about 2026? What things are you seeing in the market? What opportunities are the sales folks bringing to you?
A lot of opportunities. The acquisition, Churchill Linen was a linen company, so they didn't really touch uniforms. They had a couple of country clubs with chef coats, but outside of that, they didn't have any industrial garments. So that opportunity is very exciting. We're working on a couple of things as we speak. There's one that's over 200 people in uniform, and there's one over 60 people in uniform.
Okay.
So that's extremely exciting. So
yeah, that would really almost transform the garment approach for a branch of your size, bringing in those two big accounts.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and that's proper industrial, or is it food processing, or
no,
where
it's
is it?
all industrial.
It's all industrial.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so where are you at with the number of sales consultants that are dedicated to Stratford at the moment?
So we have 3.
Okay.
We just onboarded a new one. Actually, I believe he starts on the 15th of October, if I'm not mistaken. So we have 2, and we're bringing on a
soon
3rd.
to be 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that should really start to, work the engine there. How have the RSRs adapted to the change? That's our front line to our customers, and so, but they're also the people who are inside the 4 walls the least amount of time. So those touch points, in order to enculturate them to new things, you don't have as much of that because they're out, of course, dealing with the customers. But how has that transition gone?
So it's been good, but not without challenge, and to no fault of their own. The way the operation ran previously was a little bit different. Their roles were different, and now there's a lot more responsibility asked of them. So just going through that transition, sometimes change is difficult for some people, but we have a lot of great guys, faithful, loyal guys. They come to work every day and they do their job, and that's what they want to do, is their job. So now we just have to teach them how to sell and how to, ask certain questions, and that's what we're working on now. So
Have you started doing renewals in earnest yet, or is that kind of part of what you'll work on with the service excellence team?
So when I got there in January, there was no renewals. There was no Alsco updated paperwork, and so we made that a focus right away. And then when they released to us that the best of the acquisition locations can go to Winner's Circle, certain individuals, we turned it up. So we actually been making it a focus for the last few months, and we really turned in a lot of renewals.
Okay,
so,
great.
Yeah.
And that would have been a different discipline, perhaps, for, I don't know if the RSRs were responsible for that in the past.
They were not.
Yeah, okay.
They were not. So
again, it's not necessarily, it's the same customers you had before, but it's different conversations,
correct.
right? Yeah, so
Correct.
it's a little bit.
And since before, the thinking was family business mentality, so it was a handshake and not a signed service agreement. So changing that mindset and changing that culture, that's what we're focused on.
Absolutely.
Now, so.
Well, and I think it's important to, part of the nuance of the training around that is that we are a family-owned business too, but we are a business. They're a business, and in order for us to provide you with the best service, it's best that we're all kind of protected through a contract, right? Like that creates expectations, and that creates service levels and things that we can really commit to. And we don't have to be any less friendly or congenial or collegial just because we have a piece of signed paper between us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't even refer to it as a contract.
Right.
We say service agreement.
Right.
Because, they can hold us accountable, and we can hold them accountable.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. If you could have, if we were sitting here next year at this time having the same conversation, what would be some wins that you'd want to tell me about?
So that's a great question. I'm really excited. I'm not a kind of an individual that likes to talk about it. I'd rather be about it.
Do it? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But we have some big things planned, and it's pretty exciting. And I would like to be with you again this time next year, and then you can ask me the question.
Okay, well, I look forward to that opportunity. Frank, I really wish you well. It's been a pleasure every time that we've met, which have only been a handful of times.
Absolutely.
And I love the smile, I love the attitude, and we're excited to see what Stratford does next.
Thank you very much, Dana. This has been a big deal for me. So you're the first face that I saw when I started doing the research on Alsco.
Yeah.
And so it really means a lot to sit here and have a conversation with you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your time.
That's all for today's episode of the It Pays to Keep Clean podcast. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world of Alsco Uniforms, where we explore the growth and challenges in our industry. Tune in next time for more industry insights, growth strategies, and tales from the field. If you've enjoyed our time together, please leave us a rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you want to learn more about our services, visit us at alsco.com. From all of us here at the It Pays to Keep Clean podcast at Alsco Uniforms, thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay clean, and we'll see you in the next episode.